Just going to have a little chat about Kylie Rodni and her vehicle and a few things that people are talking about here on YouTube, which, as some people seem to not think it is reality. So there's a few discussions around Kylie Rodni and, of course, the law enforcement investigation. The investigation not being run so efficiently. Maybe there should be an inquiry into that, because citizens need to realize that they can rely on authorities and groups to be efficient, be productive, be professional, be effective. So perhaps there needs to be an inquiry, but that's something for after, for when everything has settled, so to speak. So for when toxicology reports are back, and for forensic examinations to be finished. But of course we can't be sure how the rest of the investigation is going to go, because the first half of it, where law enforcement is supposed to run an efficient operation, put out amber alerts quickly and find a missing person's vehicle, that first half didn't go so well. So as I said a while back in a post or something, we are really pressed to have way too much faith. We're supposed to have trust, okay? So first, we have to trust a team or teams to find somebody, or, and then we have to trust that the same people that have acted incompetently, and we've watched them act incompetently, now we're going to trust that they can close the investigation off satisfactorily, right? And work out what did happen and do justice, and, honor someone's life by giving a shit to make sure that they know that, they know what happened and that justice is served, sort of thing, right? And what also happens here on YouTube, which is reality, is that you're told, or, the attitudes are that if you're either on one team or another, right? So you're either with the just go and believe, if it's just if there's a little slight hint of foul play, misadventure, anything like this, that could or could not lead to criminal charges, but the slightest whiff, and you have to, you've got to be in boots and all into that. Well, we need to look at every conspiracy, and we need to just leap in here, there, everywhere, in a in a manner that doesn't allow for true reflection and analysis and consideration, right? It's sort of the definition of just this full steam ahead thing without actually stopping to think, truly think, right? I don't know, Dee. I don't know if there's foul play or not, right? I mean, there's plenty to make you go, and to be concerned about, to want to look in. And this is what I'm talking about, is that trust aspect, right? Because there's so many things that, we're just not privy to, okay? But we want to be, so that we can put our minds at ease that things are being investigated. The truth will come out, that we will know the truth, and that if anybody has done anything with regards to Kylie's death, Yeah, and this is the thing, right? It's okay to be torn. That's very natural. It doesn't make us stupid. What we are is sealing down beliefs one by one of what we think happened based on assessments using certain parameters like science, fact, and you got to be careful who is gaslighting who, right? Because this word is thrown around a lot, and we be cautious. The reason why I wanted to talk about this again and talk about the vehicle in particular is because of a video made by someone who also made videos about how the car went in, and she's now telling us, don't tell me to deny my own reality. And, she just wants to have a rational conversation about it. And, there's so many elements of non-reality, and we're being told that the grass is purple. Well, look, no, we're not really being told anything at all at the moment. This is the thing, right? So we can observe incomplete footage from AWP. Okay, now there's so many lots of little bits and pieces to talk about with regards to this one thing. I'll try not to be scattered about it, but I want to get to them all. So I hate it when I forget things, but sometimes when I'm rushing because I'm trying not to meander and I'm just, I miss things out. But all of these little things connect to something else that I want to say and point out. So we've got footage of AWP recovering the vehicle, doing something that most of us would rationally believe that law enforcement should have been able to do. And why didn't they? They could, it just could be a mistake made 19,000 man hours over and over again, 20,000 man hours. It could be that several different authorities made the mistake. It could be that the people getting advice weren't listening to the advice, or that they got poor advice. They could have been operating under some intel that we don't know, because, there's talk of Boca Lake, and that's where a lot of the search for Kiely was actually concentrated. Hi, Mel. So how can the people believe some things and not others, right? So if you think it's so weird that they were at Boca, but you are so believing this tow truck guy, it's not a tow truck, it's a roadside assist. This creator that I'm sort of making this in kind of response to has even suggested that the tow truck backed the car, and the tow truck could have put that car in the lake. It wasn't a tow truck. So is this the kind of person who's thinking you want to follow? Because they're just being so stick to this second about a little girl that died, a 16-year-old girl, not a little girl, but a young woman, and she's saying she's doing it for her. Well, then there is you owe it. We owe it to Kiely to talk about things in a sensical way. Stop using the word tow truck. Okay, wasn't a tow truck. It was roadside assist. And AWP did not see the roadside assistant vehicle footage. They haven't seen for their own eyes this vehicle and the people on that footage. Now, maybe tow truck driver, when he has taken a call, has memorized has in his memory that, look, that license plate was Kiely's. I've even written it down in a book, or it's here written on my work tool. It's written into my iPad. I have filled out, or this is how it came through from dispatch. This vehicle with this license plate, this description, this day and time. Okay, so the tow truck driver has records. So even though he can't see the footage, I mean, he knows whether or not it was Kiely's car, but is it why get in the way of a good story? I don't know. Maybe he's only come forward a little bit later because, law enforcement didn't put out the Amber Alert in a timely manner. Maybe he would have connected two and two together and none of this would have happened in the way it's happening. But anyway, I'm rambling. But, AWP haven't seen that, but, they are in discussions with people. They also have been told things that we don't know. But again, okay, now, not that you can trust law enforcement all the time, but again, the only thing that you can take as fact, it's not something coming from Kiely's mother. It's not something coming from Kiely's friend or someone at the campground. The facts as evidence are things that can be confirmed. They're confirmed by law enforcement, and if it's not coming from law enforcement, just hold off on accepting it. So this video, right? So the idea that we're being told now is natural resting placement. Okay, this term's been developed. Natural resting placement. Apparently, items in Kiely's car, they're not a natural resting placement. Hi, not there yet. Hi, Johnny. And I've got to wonder, I mean, is natural resting placement, is this like, resting bitch face? I mean, I've got that. But natural resting placement? Yeah, so the charger, the white bag, which is a prize for Fight Club, and the hairbrush. Can you hear this is sarcasm. The hairbrush, girls share things like that. Hairbrush and the jumper. So they're not a natural resting placement. No, they're not a natural resting placement. And we're definitely emphatically told this by someone who was just as emphatic. This is reality, y'all. An oh shit moment. She'll say it's an oh shit moment, right? This is exactly how emphatic she was about Shane Carey writing all over his face on the video, trying to, analyze his facial expressions when you're a psychologist, and maybe you've studied, the pseudoscience of body language, but she certainly hasn't produced any, proof, I guess, proof of, having completed particular courses, maybe with the behavior panel. But, Shane Carey was guilty as fuck in her eyes, right? And now we've got natural resting placement. So it's the natural resting placement of items in a car accident, in a car accident where a car doesn't shoot off, but it does roll into water and submerge, and there is movement, there are forces, and there is spinning, which she now admits is a spinning, maybe not a roll, as she was emphatic to say. So let's try and get me on track here. Yeah, it can look really bizarre that items are, some have algae on them, for example, underwater, and some don't. And the thumbnail that I put onto this is a picture of clocks from the St. Thomas Aquina, this passenger ferry that sunk, a Filipino passenger ferry. And if you watch shipwreck and car wreck and think videos like I have, you notice that different areas of the vessels can look so different from one another, and items can look really untouched. They're not even smashed. There's not doesn't appear to be, even a microbe growing on them, and they might have been underwater for 9 years. And then other things that have different surface and different qualities, I guess, they're absolutely slathered in growth and muck, right? And algae, of course. Kiely's car hadn't been under for very long, but there is a lot of silt build-up because we knew this was one of the properties of this lake. Look, I think the water's going down day by day, and actually more and more of her things might be uncovered. You can clearly see that next to the natural resting placement items, you can see that there's also items outside of the car sort of buried a little under, under that silt, but there's reflections there of things. And, so there's algae growing in the car, there's lots of silt and muck, there's fish swimming through the car. But algae needs light, and of course there's going to be differing amounts of growth depending on the surface that it's growing on, depending on the light that's reaching it, and how long during a day a different part of the car is receiving light. We don't see a lot of the video of the dive, okay, so it is edited. It might not be much, but it is edited, and you might not see too much brushing of the car, but we don't know what has been disturbed by Nick, and we haven't seen the whole video. So until you've seen the whole video, you don't know where he's touched. You don't know if fish life, eels, things like that. Now, certainly someone could have gone down and placed these items, but that was much closer to the time that Kiely went missing than the time of the dive, like just days. So, in this land of this reality of, and she says she's not blaming anybody or accusing anyone, but she named Zanime, she had scuba gear. Well, maybe you might want scuba gear if you think it's going to be in the deepest part of the lake, but you don't need it for 7, 10, 14 feet of water. That's a free dive with a snorkel and mask. So sure, someone could have gone down, made sure the items are placed there. These are items that were in the car anyway, very regular. The idea is, sorry, I'm not speaking very well. I'm just so, there's so much I want to get out. So I'll just quickly recap. There's a lot of talk, and particularly one video that's come out about Kiely Rodni's car, how at the bottom of the lake, sitting on the roof of her upturned car, items are too neatly placed. These are not NRP. They are not NRP. They are not natural resting place. And they don't look covered in algae enough, and they look like they've been pressed down, they've been squished, they've been squashed. You can see finger hand marks pressing them down to the roof, and so that's that. So it's not like, well, let's actually do some research on this, and let's look at some other videos of how things are found, and etc. No. She knows what natural resting places should look like, and there are too many parallel lines. It's like a parallel universe. Too many parallel lines, and we know parallel lines don't. There's nothing like that in that. No straight line in nature or anything like that, right? So So these items, it's the white, maybe white and pink sweatshirt with a hairbrush on it, a white purse with a long strap, like an over-the-shoulder purse, and a charger, and there's a can of, this is the kicker, there's a can of Truly. So Truly is an alcoholic beverage in a can, and maybe it's something that's attractive to young drinkers because maybe it's something sweet and fizzy. Well, it will be fizzy. It's in a can. So, and it's placed perfectly so you can see, because what are the odds? So the odds. So P over 1 minus P. What are the odds that the Truly can's going to land? First, that there'll be alcohol cans. This fits the narrative. We've got to make sure there's alcohol in the car. Otherwise, is the can full? Is it open? Is it a new can, unopened? We don't know, but it's suspicious that you can just read the whole name of Truly, okay? And it's just suspicious, apparently, that everything lines up, right? And, someone works in retail, she quips, but she's already accused someone, she's already accused someone, Zanime, and she knows she's in the army, so why would you quip that someone works retail? Because she's also trying to imply that maybe a teenager that's got a job while they're at school. Is that what that means? I don't know. So that's what I'm talking about. But, there's so much that's not taken into account, and you're not looking at the whole, right? There were other things in the car, the open laptop. We know Check It TV, a YouTube channel, went there. The water level had dropped a lot, so he's in 6 feet of water, and he's just hopping down and getting things out of the lake, and he got what looked like the license, the holder for maybe papers for the car that's probably come off the visor or something, and just bits and pieces, and there was a laptop as well. And who knows though, right? We don't know this guy from a bar of salt, and he's just trying to say that he called law enforcement. They weren't really interested. I mean, maybe he should have called Kiely's mother. Would you be interested in anything I recover from the lake? Because the laptop's useless. It might have, hi cat, it might have fingerprints on it, okay? But again, that could be a beat up, right? What am I trying to say here? Let's try and have a look. Yeah, now the thing with the police, actually, okay, so they've done their best, right? But, they didn't find Kiely, and this does seem subpar, but at the same time, we don't know what they were operating under, what intel, what advice, etc. But, they write off in the press conference, they're saying, well, hey, everyone wants to be blameless, and I think Kiely's mother is going easy on them. Number one, it's a good idea to go easy on the people that are looking for your daughter. But, maybe out of shame, because, with this, there's honor and silence. I mean, I really think she feels a lot of shame. But law enforcement was saying in this early press conference, oh, it's not illegal. It's not illegal for them to go there and camp. So, and that they are actually at pains to make people know that they, that they want them to come forward, that they will help. They might not be able to, protect if there's anything criminal, but, if their lives in danger, if they feel like they're in danger because they speak, they'll protect them. It's bullshit that law enforcement are trying to shut the kids up. They clearly, in the press conference early on, are asking for people to come forward and asking for the children to speak. Children, but I think law enforcement have a lot to be blamed for, because it's clear that this place, Prosser Reservoir, the sanctuary specifically though, not the campground where Zanime went. Zanime did not walk through, not on her video anyway. She doesn't go to the sanctuary in that video. She shows the campsite. She doesn't kayak, in my opinion, just with what we see. She doesn't kayak over Kiely's. Doesn't mean she couldn't have gone there. It doesn't mean she couldn't have seen the vehicle or known the vehicle was there. It doesn't mean that she didn't dive down and, put things in something that was an unnatural resting placement. But that's what I see. She didn't go to the right spot because she was responding to reports at the time about Prosser Campground. This was all that was put out in the news. Children, the teenagers, they weren't being specific. They weren't saying the words the sanctuary. And so someone, like any internet consumer of crime on the internet, anyone that gets interested and you go to a site and, I've gone there. I went to the crossroads where Betty Shanks was murdered, and it was very difficult to get the right spot and work out the right house. I didn't have the right information. So I was incorrect in my video, right? And it's the same with Zanime. She went there and she responded. She wanted to go there, and she did. But she wasn't in the right spot. She didn't have all the information, no matter what people are trying to say, yes, okay, so maybe she didn't show it. God, this is all over the shop. But, the police, they know that people are going there partying. They really should be there specifically after some sort of curfew time. They need to show a presence. They've just been letting it go on. They're letting their youth enjoy living in the town Truckee. They're letting them have a certain lifestyle. Kids should know that if there's a huge gathering or 10 people or 20, that rangers and law enforcement officers come by randomly and they will check it out and they will want to know if you're underage and they will want to know if you're supplying underage teenagers, etc., with drugs and alcohol. And this is what Sammy is in trouble for. Okay, so Sammy has gone on record saying that she was basically supplying a minor with alcohol, sharing her alcohol, etc. So she has contributed to the delinquency of a minor, and that is a criminal charge. So Sammy is facing charges, and other children, other teenagers, other young adults, other adults at that party, they are in danger. But, the time to come forward and not worry about that and trust that the police are going to do some sort of quid pro quo for information of the party, anything that could happen, police would have overlooked it. I think the police are just slack. They're not interested in that sort of crime in their community. They're not interested in the development and safety of their young people. They just want them to have a certain lifestyle. The lifestyle seems to be quite affluent with the types of vehicles and there seems to be enough money going around Truckee, and I don't know if that's something to do with it. But they've really dropped the ball. It's like we have to question how often are law enforcement dropping the ball. How come they don't attend and disperse these sorts of crowds? Because they're not wanting to rock the boat because these children have rape parents and things like that, right? But to at least not even go there and to make sure for safety that people are all right. It just seems like the teens of Truckee knew that they could go there and just have free reign to run amok and do whatever. It was like a safe space for them, which makes it a very dangerous place. Yeah. And that whole honor and silence speech, statement, etc. that Leslie's making. Well, I don't know. Yeah, sure, that might be a message to the teens just to shut up. It's all right. It's over now. It's done. I don't know. I think she's got to be feeling so guilty and ashamed and feeling just so much shame about what's happened. Because she knows her lifestyle and everything about her as a mother is just going to be pulled apart and questioned. I think not only that, the main thing is going to be that her ex, Kiely's biological father and family on that side, they are going to be, I hope they're just acting now with restraint and empathy at the moment, but can you imagine how furious they are? They are going to be incensed, enraged, right? That this girl, 16 years old, she's your responsibility when she's with you. You've just gone to sleep. You haven't, look at the way that Kiely had to go to come home. It's just truly bizarre, actually, that she's allowed out that late beyond what is legal. I mean, is this just the mindset? Is this like some sort of, it can't be really. She doesn't sound like a sovereign style person, but, curfew smurfew, it's whatever I decide for my daughter. I don't know. She was letting Kiely risk a lot, okay? This child to be driving after curfew, what if she did have an accident or was pulled over and so the cops are involved, or worse can happen, right? We know. But this is going to affect what college might accept her. If she's got, say, drunk driving charges at 16 or, just shirking the law, would that affect her future immediately? So, everything, I'm always torn with everything because I know children, your children, they're going to do what they're going to do, and there's no protecting them 24/7, and you can't. You need to learn, they need to do things on their own, and they're sly, the cunning, the tricksy. They lie to their parents all the time, even the good ones, right? They're not telling everything. So it's a tricky one, but I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say should, but I feel like, Lindsay's probably kicking herself anyway. Let's say it this way. Lindsay was probably kicking herself that she just didn't drive out to meet her daughter and go and have a look. So many parents would have. And now about AWP going and Zanime being the one, or, someone being the ones to go and plant these items. Well, first, just research it. When was AWP first made aware and requested from members of the public to go? Okay, because it was after Zanime went there, I'm sure. Because it was like, they're coming in 2 weeks. And how long was Kiely missing? And how many days after she was missing did Zanime come in from the coast to the lake, park on that opposite side, and go north over to the campground? Days. And so that's still a period of time if algae's going to settle, for it to settle on the items that it would and not on the things that are shiny. As I was saying before about my thumbnail, aluminium, glass, but, different things are going to collect algae in a different way, and the light affects it as well. The surface dusty? Car deco, it's so shiny. If the car was dirty when it went in, maybe no algae would grow on it. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. It's questioned, well, look at these. The charger was part of Sammy's story going, we went back to the car to charge our phones. Alcohol was part of Sammy's story. We went back to the car and we were getting alcohol. So all these things have to be there apparently. So apparently they're placed there so you can see, so you don't question this narrative, right? But these are what is abnormal about these items? Nothing. I mean, and I will guarantee there's a lot of shit that is probably even more interesting, maybe outside of the car. Are there a lot of opened cans? Were no alcohol things left in the car? Were there big rubbish bins at Truckee? Was someone, there was a big cleanup the next day. Did kids just leave all of their alcohol containers out at the sanctuary? Were they picked up the next day? It was this one lonely little alcohol can. Are there heaps of alcohol cans, right? We don't know what's in places we can't see. So it could be lots of alcohol cans. Okay, but hold on. No, this one was in its unnatural resting place because we're supposed to see it and know. Oh, right, that fits the narrative. I mean, I don't think we need to. Anyway. Sorry. La 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 la. Yeah. There's just too much. So, yeah, what do you guys think about this idea that items are staged, that it's not a natural resting place, how these things have landed, they're too parallel, they're too clean? Do you think, items could be staged, or they could have been put in the car and they've just stayed in the car, right, before she went into the water? I think you don't have to go full obsession and hysteria and cajoling and actually gaslighting and pressuring people to just jump wholly into something, right? You can have your doubts, and you need to analyze, and you need to research, and you need to check each one, because and we're still not going to have all the information. So there's so much danger in doing this and putting it out there that you are so sure those items are staged. Sure, they might be. And to argue against it, or to try to say, well, can we just talk this through beyond that? People will then gaslight you and say, well, you don't even think there's foul play. You don't even think there might be misadventure. You're not curious about this at all. You're just a sucker. You're just taking the party line, hook and sinker. And, it's no. These sort of people that say these things, they are the ones that stop conversation, but they won't admit it. And they are so manipulative, right? Because we've got to be able to speculate. Yes, we do. We want to be able to talk about it. We want to be able to speculate, because we need to be reasonable. And it just doesn't mean that we just need to be dragged along in everyone's slipstream that has a brain fart about something, right? It doesn't mean that you're not wary, that you don't see things that are wrong. I mean, we could be all looking at the wrong thing. We don't have a whole picture. And and these days, more and more, every month, there are more and more people that troll crime cases and things like that. The type of inserting into cases used to be more of, let's just analyze this video, and, we'll get a lot of, clutching of pearls and things that way. But then, people start turning up. You've got the Jonathan Lee Riches of the world, right? So who, he's the most litigious person in America, and he's turned his hand to true crime, and he turns up, he's the guy yelling outside Brian Laundrie's parents' home, Roberta and Chris Laundrie. Just my opinion that they might be scum of the earth. he's out there with Bullhorn Betty, and and just stirring things up because he's a professional agitator. When he went to Summer Wells, do you know this guy knows minds, right? This guy knows minds, certain minds. What he did, and it's brilliant. It's so simple, so stupid, so brilliant, and it worked because it works. In one clip he shows he's talking to people that actually do know the neighbours of Candice Bly and Don Wells at Ben Hell Road. People that know the neighbourhood, they live in the neighbourhood, they've been there a long time. There's two guys, and they're in a car, they're in a vehicle, and Jonathan Lee Richards is there talking to them. And why are they talking to? They are giving information. They're acting like this is a real interview. And one of them, at the end of the half hour, he says, "I'm here. Oh yeah, I'm here. We're just talking to press." And then a question is asked, and suddenly they need to go. And I think they twigged to something, but because Jonathan Lee Richards is wearing this T-shirt with press and huge, university style, or just plain font, but huge capital letters. I think the shirt's red or the writing's red or something. Press. This is ballsy. This is gutsy. This is bananas. But he knows, and it just, these people that just aren't taking a breath to think. It might have taken these people half an hour, at least maybe they got there, but it does the trick, because it's just this very brief, it's like not even giving consideration, because they don't have to think. You don't have to think, it's being done for you, just not even questioning. So you've got to keep taking it further and further and further. And that's interesting if things have been placed there, right? I mean, there's no need for these things to be placed there. It's not actually, I mean, what they're not needed to support any narrative at all about a party or Kiely drinking or anything like that, right? It's pretty unnecessary. It's risky. Yeah, I don't think it happened. Also, in the several weeks since apparently, allegedly, according to some people, Zanime put on scuba gear to dive down to this car and place these items, there are the natural currents with the moon. So it's not tidal, it's a man-made lake. It's partly why the floor of it's really bad. There's a man-made lake, but water bodies like that still move. There's still currents of sorts, and moving with the tide, moving with the moon, and there's movement while, even though this heavy vehicle, that floor of that lake is just so silty, and it's on such an angle. I mean, because I think that for a while she thought she'd be all right, because it's 10 feet of water, and if it, and the nose is down, but I think that's why I think she's clambered to the boot. I think it's possible she's clambered to the boot. I'm not saying she wasn't in there when the car went in, but I don't think her being in the boot means that she didn't go there. I think people need to learn to imagine things. They state things as if they're so boldly, just so sure, so knowledgeable. They haven't even done the exercise. We're lazy, right? I think we're getting very lazy. We haven't done the exercise of just trying to actually imagine that. And don't look at the video of these very prepared, very fit people running an exercise to show you how to get out. Imagine you or your child in that car and going, and the water level might be at a certain bit for a while, and the car might even have rested nose first on the bottom where it's 8-9 feet deep. The vehicle is 14.5 feet, and maybe there is this pocket of air she doesn't know to get out, and I think she's gone to the boot herself. I think that's probable, but I could be wrong. I kind of hope that's what's happened, right? Misadventure is possible, foul play is possible, accident, wholly an accident, which I think has to have some level of, misadventure and some degree of foul play too, because, if Kiely was plied with drugs and alcohol or chose to have alcohol at the party, then it's she was wearing her shoes. It's I don't think she's going to be naked in there. Nick saw the shoes, I'm sure he said. Feet down, saw the shoes. Yeah, just think about it. Just, actually see yourself go through that and what you might do. And pre-knowledge of, break a window, get out here. Did she realize that it was going to get that deep? Did she just think the car was going to stay where it was and she could just go and breathe in the boot while she thought, got the brave, got the courage to swim through a window? I just don't see what the value is of taking the risk and to go and put things in an unnatural resting face. Sorry, because I said, what is this? Like, it's like resting bitch face, in that unnatural resting place, because the car's still shifting and, moving. We know it goes down to the deepest part of the lake there. It's very steep. Even with the weight of the car, it's slowly shifting, right? And let's see, I can't bring up chat. Oh, there. Not there yet. No, I believe it could have happened before the car completely submerged and spun in a naturally desperate attempt to escape from front to back. Yeah, I mean, young girl, inexperienced. She's had the car for a month. I think she's suggestible by people. I mean, there's discussions, there's gossip, I should say, that she stayed behind because she was with an older boy there. Yeah. But these things coming to land, the thing is, they could have been, okay, if they were placed, they could have been placed in an entirely different manner as well. They might have, things move around, they slide, they get knocked by fish nibble them. Fish would have been trying to pull at the hair of the hairbrush. Eventually they'll get inside the purse and there'll be growths inside her white bag, the white purse. I doubt that is exactly, those things might have, the car spinning, there's a lot of turbulence and the water rushing, but once the water is already fully in there and the car is turning, things probably are going to stay in the car, which is, you know, and then as it's landed, they will just settle. This whole idea that the sweatshirt, you know, is being pushed down, the air's being pushed out. I mean, we need more information about that. We need more information about how things are found in other situations. We don't know. Was there something inside that sweater that, you know, it eventually sank? We don't know. I mean, to say that there's hand marks that you can see that people have pressed down the purse and pressed down. Yeah, I don't know. We know that there was drug taking paraphernalia that was also seen from the other window. So I don't know what they call that sort of rig to hold a joint and things. There was one of those in the car. That was on the other side. Was that placed there too, right? Because you could clearly see the colouring of that, the cream and red colouring of that. Why isn't that included? Maybe this is included in the placed items. What we don't know is, was the phone recovered? We don't know what else is. I wished LE cared to go and dredge the lake, but of course, you know, they have their reasons for why they will and won't look for something. Are there legal reasons? You know, why they didn't wrap the car. I mean, I think there should be an inquiry because, you know, this is a minor child, you know, it's a 16-year-old person under some circumstances that so many things could have happened. And I think for them to go ahead and just pull the car out how they did, it's just so unconscionable. And that sort of bullshit act is the type of thing that leaves not just speculation and assessment, and you know, it's the type of thing that just opens this wide door for all the nasty shit that's being thrown around now. Don't know how. Sorry, I closed myself down. Yeah, so what else should we talk about? I mean, I just wanted to say, look, you know, where's the data? Where's the science? Where are the equations? Where are the equations? Where are the, you know, where is the other examples, you know, of how things land and are placed? I mean, I can tell you now, I've dropped things and you'd go, is this chaos or random? It's like, no, that's in a pattern, right? But there's so many forces involved, and to say that something couldn't just be placed, it's okay, sure, it's window dressing, it looks like merchandising, it looks like a presentation. Yeah, maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. The whole car could be a presentation, right? But why would you bother trying to do that and risking things more if it's going to turn out that maybe Kiely was, you know, that's something obvious on her body, you know, and with her clothing and her body is going to be so obvious that, you know, there's no point, right? You know, I think she got tangled up in anything. Yeah, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to just talk about the placement of these items, or the discussion of these items being placed. You know, what sort of foul play do you think, if it is foul play, what's your you know, what do you call foul play, Johnny? Like, would foul play just be that people knew that Kiely shouldn't have been there drinking with these older people? Or is that a criminal thing to you? Because, I mean, I definitely think, why, how can I put this? Law enforcement need to be more aware of what's going on in their community. It wasn't that isolated out there that the teenagers and things shouldn't realize that people are going to come by randomly any given night to see any party, to see what's going on. At the same time, authorities, they probably feel like they owe their citizens a certain way of life. And every county seems to just operate on their own set of rules. But, how do you feel about this girl being 16 and her mother knowing she's there? Yeah, you can understand if Kiely had lied to her mother, and like so many teenagers might, saying, no, I'm going to be at Kate's. We're having a graduation party just at her mum's house, and it's a pool party. There's going to be some music and stuff, but then she's actually going to Prosser. I mean, from my understanding, I think, Kiely's mother seems to have known. That's another thing. Like, okay, yeah, they lived off-grid, right? They were kind of off-grid, out, quite isolated. So people are saying, how did Kiely even text her when she wouldn't even have a mobile phone? I mean, her mother's got a mobile phone, FFS. How would they even have, how could she be going to school? I mean, they don't even have the internet out there. Well, they would have to have some sort of Wi-Fi or whatever, because Kiely is doing school with a high school that, she was connecting with. She wasn't homeschooled. She was in a program where she was at home when she was attending school. Okay, you need the internet for that. And, her mother's running a business out there. So, which is partly probably why this, the place is so expensive for, hi Emily, so expensive for 1.7 million on being listed for that amount, because it's actually a business. I believe there's cabins and things out there. To operate her business, she needs to be able to communicate with customers, okay, so for bookings and marketing. And she has got social media. She has posted social media videos, photos, etc. She posted one where we are told, sure, it might not be her, but we're told that it's Kiely driving in the car. It's her first time she drove through the tunnel, which is part of the route out to the cabins. And this is what I've spoken about before. I don't really understand, why there wasn't more concern for Kiely, because, I mean, it's a rough road. She's got to go through this tunnel and coming back in the dark, and it's miles and miles of like off-road. It's pretty bizarre that you'd think, yeah, that's cool, that's okay. Oops. Her movement and climbing to the back for escape would definitely affect the movement of the car, as it was quickly filling with water, a faster spin and more water rushing in through rear passenger window. Yeah, maybe. I mean, at first, so there's two windows on the driver's side, one half down, one fully down, and one window down on the passenger side. And at first, maybe water's going to come in one side quicker, and then as the water level comes up to the level of the doors, then it would equilibrize. That's not a word. Find equilibrium there. But then, of course, yes, the nose is going down. But I think, it's definitely possible, because, people have demonstrated, they show videos of, see this car driving off the wharf, it's so violent, boom, into the water. No, it wasn't like that. It went down a hill and just went into water and submerged. For a while the windows might not have even been in water. We don't know. We don't know if it was in its speed or just sort of rolled down, or if she drove in an angle trying to make a turn. And so it might have seemed like the car wasn't, wasn't going to go that far down. And then if it did, with the nose going down and that tip, might have seemed like, well, this is as deep as it's getting, yeah? Anyway. So Emily, it would have been so utterly terrifying. As you know, people think that she's going to be in the frame of mind. It doesn't matter if she was drinking or not. She wouldn't know what to do. She just wouldn't know. She wouldn't, and she's such a tiny little girl. The men that demonstrate getting out of the windows, they are so fit and strong. They know exactly what they're doing and how, and they get out in 20 seconds. Emily, so you made a video, you were just saying, well, yeah, it does look like, because as a stylist, designer, you've worked, to do all sorts of things for shoots. So you know how to make it look, to kern things correctly to the eye and to make it pleasing, and understand perception, proportion, vanishing points and all of that, right? And texture, light reflection, just all of that, okay? So if you will, of styling, all of that, so that you make it look appealing, you're highlighting what you want to highlight, and and there's a knack to that. And I tell you now, not everybody has that eye, and you can tell instantly when someone's got it or not, right? And so you're saying that, look, it does. It looks like this is a presentation here made. But it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what it looks like. If it looks like it's a presentation that's been made, the question is, but probability, odds, possibilities, we were just having a chat about all the things that have happened in the weeks before they've been placed there as well, with currents of the water, fish movement, what's natural, what's not. There's so many other things in that car that we don't get to see. There's so many other things. There were things outside of that car in front of where those items were placed as well. What are those items? Were they placed items that were hidden by silt, or are these just random items that it would have been interesting to uncover them? And if you uncovered them, would they be somehow sitting in an equilateral triangle position, right? I don't think we can say, or should say, so definitively that those items were placed. And if you tell me I can't, it's not a matter of not believing your eyes, okay? It's not gaslighting someone saying, don't believe your eyes, okay? This is what we are being bullied with and told. It's a matter of, do you believe your perception? Do you believe your bias? Do you believe your knowledge? So what perceptions are you applying? What knowledge are you applying beyond how nicely something is to be set dressed? Simply leads me to thinking, I can't see it. Simply leads me to thinking, can we complete the story more? But there's so many things that we don't know, that, we need to complete the story, right? We're just saying, what is there? So there's a definite, there's foul play, there's misadventure, there's accident, there's so many things in between. There's so many parts of Kiely Rodni's life story that have all contributed to where she ended up. And we want to know what it was, because we want to know that if someone's done this to her, that they are going to be taken out of our civil society and they're going to have due punishment. And even if they've contributed to misadventure or the accident, I think most people her to, those things to come to fruition with charges, right? So, but the placement of those things after the car goes in the car, the ruse is the things go in the car. And we're just told we have to believe more and more bullshit, right? To think, so this other creators just so, you know, she says it and then she takes it back sort of thing, right? So she has cast, she has laid the blame for this mainly on Zanime. And she's saying, alluding to that, but then says, of course, I'm not accusing anybody. And, she's also sort of alluding that it might be Sammy, or Zanime has to be in cahoots with Zanime or something. And Sammy said, please do something about this, because, if Sammy's ballsy enough to push a car in the vehicle, she's ballsy enough to go in and think to maybe try and place some items later. If someone's put the car in the vehicle, that's the ruse, that's the thing, that's the criminal activity. They're not then going to get some random chick, okay, and she is a random chick. There is no relationship, okay, there isn't any. She's, Zanime is someone that people don't like very much. They're quite cruel. They call her herpy lip, herpy bump, all because Ryan Upchurch does, Muppet Church, right? So she has no relationship. People are going to try and say that she's in photos and, this is all, a CIA. Okay, sure, whatever. People go to the scene of the crime, right? Jamie, also known as Jack Hammer Wilson, went to the stables. He went to the stables where Summer Wells had her last little swim, so we're told. And he went there at night first, a video that he took down, and then he went the next day and he filmed going down to she just makes this wide net, but she's doing it in such a way, she's doing it exactly the way she did about Shane Carey, though. This is reality, y'all. This is reality. Sorry to yell at you. And she was that adamant about Shane Carter, and that's supposed to be close to her profession. I'm sorry, but the forensic investigation of cars underwater and the natural resting placement of items isn't in her area of expertise. But to tell her this, to say, well, maybe you should just do a bit more looking into it first, is apparently gaslighting. Okay, so she's basically a bully who bullies people into her ideas, and she gaslights people back. What did Just K say, Em? So she wasn't bringing anything scientific to it, just like she didn't bring anything scientific to her vehicle video. Nor did I with my response to that, right? But I just said, calmly, let's go through a few scenarios. Oh, there's been a few, has there? Actually, yeah, Cindy and, yeah. Yeah, she loves, we know she's a conspiracy theorist. Nothing wrong with that. Conspiracies exist. There are conspiracies in the world, right? But it doesn't give people the right to say Kiely Rodni doesn't exist and that sort of thing, right? So what did Just K say, Emily? There was no... Yeah, she's so manipulative, and people, yeah. But the thing is, right? Yeah, sure, things might have been placed there. How possible is that? Well, if we know that this is foul play or murder or whatever, then yeah, it might be more possible. We don't actually know yet what Kiely's cause of death is. Was it drowning? Was it something else? We don't have enough information. And AWP, look, bless them, okay, but they've got a horse in the race. So, you know, all the alluding to things that they're going to release if something doesn't go a certain way. We don't know what that is. We don't know if they'll ever release that. We don't know if they are perceiving things right. Okay? We don't know when they're lying to us and lying by admission, right? Because we don't know that they do know if it was boot first or front first, right? And now maybe we can actually tell by Stony Stone's aerial footage. And I wish someone with a good computer to change the values of the imagery could tell us, because I think you can clearly see, I just can't tell if it's a front windscreen or a back windscreen or whatever, right? But I think if people manipulated Stony Stone's images, so the aerial view over the Prosser Lake where you can see Kiely's vehicle, I think if we analysed that, we would know if it was boot first, like, you know, boot facing shore or the bonnet facing shore. Because, it seemed like it was that we've gotten differing information, and AWP Nick coming up and saying, oh, I wish I'd taken my compass down. I can't really say. I just got the impression that it was, you know. So we don't even know that, but we can probably find out if we looked at the footage and worked it out first rather than speculating one way or the other. Okay, most recent live stream. I went on and had a chat with Just K. Did you know that? Because she was talking about, she brought up about, she must have just gone up, not there yet. Yeah, so it's probably just recent, was it? But I went on her show the other day, and because she was talking about the Johnny Depp situation and bringing up his friendship with Allen Ginsberg, who I was familiar with, you know, because he's a beat poet, and most people when they're sort of teenagers or 20 years old might, you know, read a bit of Hunter S, or they'll read, you know, some beat poetry. So I'd read Allen Ginsberg, and knew he was gay, and a few other things about his life. And I'm not sure if when I was talking to Kay, I don't think I knew, I feel like I thought I didn't know this information, but in retrospect, as I think about it, I think I had heard of it before, but for some reason it didn't fully hit me, the meaning of it. But she was saying, look, he was had a position on the board or something of the North American Man Boy Love Association, and his angle is that, well, I'm just doing it because it's freedom of speech, right? I'm just supporting the freedom of speech, our constitutional rights, blah, 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 right? And she's pretty, she's very bombastic, and she gets very whiny, you know, okay, yes. But she was talking about that, Johnny Depp, and, you know, look at this link. Think about the gossip and, you know, the charges that were brought against him, and then look at who his friends are, right? So Winona Ryder's parents were friends with Allen Ginsberg. So I dialed up, and two people you wouldn't have guessed. I dialed in and we had a conversation about because I said, well, I just want to bring something else to your attention. Then let's just make a little list, because we've got his friendship with Hunter S. Thompson, also someone very fringe and very questionable, who degraded his own nuclear family values and tortured his family, especially in his death, but in his life, he introduced society, to adrenochrome. He, right? And then on and on with the connections with the flocking of birds, the people that Johnny Depp likes to think about. Have a lovely cup of tea if we go. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being here, not there yet. I really appreciate it. Water movement shifts things, not there yet. I mean, even it seemingly very still and everything settled in that car, those things would have been moving the entire time, even little bit by little bit, or rocking back and forth and slowly shifting. In the car, just a slow shift maybe. We don't have enough data to be able to write off everything else other than, those things are placed there. I mean, I think that's ludicrous. I'll go on record. Saying that doesn't mean, see, this is where the actual gaslighting comes in. You say, no, I really think that is a reach. It might have happened, but so many other factors are involved. It's much more likely that it's just how they landed and have moved the position they've moved into. But apparently that means that you're an idiot, that you don't have an open mind, that you don't see what's right before you, which is that, something is a foul, something is a miss. I mean, that is the gaslighting, right? You're supposed to let people run off for the sake of content and for the sake of grabbing people's imaginations, because you care for a little girl. The people that care about the little girl want the actual truth, right? So yes, we want to think about these things, right? We want to think about these things. But we also need to think about them fully. Yeah, I love speculation. I speculate all the time. Allen Ginsberg, let me see if I've got one of his books, Em. If it's still just here, or did I do with it? I think it might be in the shed, all of that stuff. Ginsberg. Is that focusing? Yeah, and there's a picture of Allen Ginsberg sitting with a very beautiful young Johnny Depp, in conversation. And, excuse me, and I was thinking, well, maybe at the time he wasn't, this president of of NAMBLA, the the North American Man-Boy Love Association, right? Yeah, AWP, of course they are. They're not privy. Okay, they're not privy. They have done a wonderful job, and that's what they should just stick to doing. They've got a new production team, right? They've got a production team that is slick, and they're great marketers, and they're making movies. They are going to propel those guys into into some real true success, where they can just continue on making real difference in people's lives. They can give so many people peace. They can, and along the way, they're not only just going to solve mystery, maybe they are going to uncover things where eventually some criminal charges can come. I think most of the things they find are where people have just been, they've just driven off into bodies of water. Sometimes people are not 20 feet away from where people have driven past for decades or years, or, driven off roads and ravines into rivers. And they really, it's something special what they do, right? And so now they're training more and more teams, but to do that, to fund that, each team might need $1 million a year, so this production company and they've got such directors, if you will. They've got this team and directors, producers, set designers, and all these designers, the editing and everything. It's a business now, and maybe and they've got to, so that they're in the business of creation. They're creating something for people to watch, watchable. That's how they're going to fund. So a bit of intrigue, bit of capitalization. So Ginsberg, and and that just for me, I just found that so interesting, that the open-mindedness of Depp includes, the people that he will rub shoulders with, because he's interested in the human condition and creativity and just living without borders of your own, not limiting yourself. But, those things, they really speak, don't they? They add up. It's the sum of the parts. And, it's... I'll read it. This is just a random poem from his collected poems. Two boys went into a dream diner and ate so much the bill was $5, but they had no idea what they were getting themselves into, so they shoveled garbage into a truck in the alley to make up for the food. After about 5 minutes, wondering how long they would have... Sorry, he writes the paragraphs, a sentence halfway splits and comes here, so I'm not reading this very well. Start again. The heading is part of the first sentence. Two boys went into a dream diner and ate so much the bill was $5, but they had no idea what they were getting themselves into, so they shoveled garbage into a truck in the alley to make up for the food. After about 5 minutes, wondering how long they would have to work off what it cost, they asked the diner owner when their penance or pay would be over. He laughed. Little did they realize they were so virginal that a grown worker works half a day for money like that. Yeah. Anywho, so, I've underlined Vosnesensky's Silent Tingling. That was, I remember why I did that. Anyway, so that's Allen Ginsberg, Emily, president of the North American Man-Boy Love Association, close personal friend of Johnny Depp before his death in 1985. Yeah, they're amazing. They are amazing, Emily. What they aren't, they're not law enforcement. They're not forensic investigators. They're not medical examiners. Now, they have a lot of knowledge. This was Nick's first dive down where he'd gone and seen a body. Some of Johnny's gluttony for darkness is not to be admired. Many of us don't have that luxury. Darkness, even for us deep-feeling creatives, especially for us deep-feeling creatives, needs guardrails. I think people start living with more and more freedom, and it makes them, want to push and push and push more too, more and more sensation, more and more knowledge, more and more, to be satisfied. But most of us are, I mean, I am, most of us are just little, little prisoners in cages, mostly of our own making. That's actually, that's the trouble, isn't it? It's our own making. Why am I fiddling? Sorry. Yeah. But I find it, I don't think we can discount that, his fascination with Damien Eccles, who committed his life to witchcraft thereafter, after being convicted by a jury and then taking the Alford plea, essentially admitting that if he went to court, trial again, there'd be enough evidence to put him behind bars again. And he did it to... It's kind of funny, really, because he did it to avoid the death penalty. He was frightened of death, but he was always fascinated by death. And it's undeniable that he does have certain beliefs that aren't Christian, say. Here's the thing, right? He renames himself Damien. He'll try and tell you it was after Saint Damien. Saint Damien is spelled with an A. He spells Damien with an E-N. Okay, like The Omen. He would have been absolutely fascinated by the Omen movie. And he called his son, amongst other names, put the name Azaria in there, and definitely the time frame fits for him to also then become fascinated with the story of Lindy and I think John Chamberlain and their daughter Azaria, who went missing from a campsite at Uluru in Central Australia. And the Lindy Chamberlain was kind of the first, and this is what I talk about with Kay anyway, was the first person really just to, she was pre-Patsy Ramsey and all of that. And she got absolutely slaughtered, and just gossip abounded that she was a devil worshipper, and that Azaria, who means gift to God, or, means, meant that Azaria Chamberlain had been sacrificed by her parents, a blood ritual, because, they were Seventh-day Adventists or something, and, just not really understood people that are different. We don't take very well to people that are different than us sometimes, do we? We're wary and we're judgmental, and we can lose a bit of our compassion. And it's funny though, people, say in Christianity, for example, so people that believe in God, Jesus Christ, etc., nothing is thought of the fact that there are churches or special days, rituals that people go and worship, that they have mass and things, and yet we might not see the autopsy, Johnny. We probably won't get any tox results, or autopsy maybe, I don't know, because Kiely's a minor. And we then think, though, you hear it said all the time, they might, we know there's got to be Satanists, right? People that worship Satan or follow Satan, whether it's a dark thing or whether they think it's a philosophy and the way that they live their life. But we think, well, they're not wanting to have gatherings and rituals, masses, that they don't have meetings and things that they do, right? It's so weird. So you hear people scoff that, Oh, Damien Eccles, so what? He was reading Crowley and, I mean, he was expressing that him and Dominique, who actually might have been someone with him, Dominique, they were having a baby, he would write that he was having that baby to sacrifice it. There's so many things. Anyway, I know the evidence is it's definitely a bit funny. That was a very bad investigation. And then Paradise Lost came in and just muddied everything. But, what's he ever doing to try and find? He just accused, Byers, one of the fathers, and then it's Hobbs now, and him and Stevie, him and Jason Baldwin going around with their service dog animals. I mean, their minders, their wives, on these circuits, making a lot of money and stirring up shit. They're not trying to really work out what happened. They never speak the boys' names, the true West Memphis Three, but people will say, oh, they're not out having rituals in the woods. No way, that's so stupid. People don't do it. Yes, they do. If you have a belief in God and if you've been brought up, if you want to go to church, I know probably attending church is getting more and more rare now in some denominations anyway, but you are going, many people that have faith, that sort of faith, want to go and worship and have rituals and celebrate things, and so do Satanists, right? So why is it impossible that they wouldn't want to? Anyway, this is very scatty, isn't it? It's very strange. Don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, people extrapolate what they want, Sure, you might see it. We're not telling you don't believe your own eyes. I'm saying, well, sure, that's what's there now. Keep going. What else, Yeah. Anywho, yeah, it's just drawing people along in a slipstream. And, and I did appreciate your video about it, Emily, set design and how things are placed and everything. I mean, I just don't, it's not that I just can't see they're not achieving anything extra from it, really, right? I mean, heck, why would you place things somewhere you don't want anyone to find? Apparently they weren't supposed to be going there. Apparently the car wasn't even supposed to be found. But we're placing items that easily would already have been in that car anyway. They were going to be found. They didn't know that. How can they control all of this to the point where, and now we know LE is going to do such a bad job in recovery? How did they know that someone would go down and film it? How did they know that these things would be thrown out of the car or not thrown out of the car when it's recovered? It is senseless. It's stupid, actually. It's just stupid if you really care to think about it. But okay. But, I appreciate the commentary on placing for the eye, the display and everything. I mean, that didn't look like much of a display to me. But, the can placed there, sure, maybe. What else is in the car, though? What else is in the car? Yeah. You get people like Muppet Church can say they'll put infect with something like, and Be Real. Who's heard of Be Real? I haven't. Well, because Ryan Upchurch, and people think, yeah, he's young, he's so energetic, he's so tapped in. Well, Be Real must have just launched. It's like launched in 2020. Why didn't the items? Yeah, this is the thing, Emily. Oh my God. If I was, I would want an inquiry, and I would want people brought to justice for their incompetence and thoughtlessness, Now, sure, it might be that we just don't know what they know. They didn't have talks. They didn't have any examination done taking the car out. They didn't know what they were going to find concerning Kiely's demise and how she ended up in that lake, right? And yet they take so little care when there are options. The options are that they seal the car and they don't flip it when they get it out. They haven't sealed the windows. They've just turned the car and taken it out. Have they turned the car? Do you know what? I tell you what, it's funny. We see the car on its base. The imagery doesn't look like the stony stone imagery. Okay, so this is a guy that flew a drone over the lake, and he reviewed his footage, and you can see an object under there, right, the car, but it looks like it's the roof. Looks like it's the roof and not the bottom. And that was days after, or the next day or something, right? But when AWP finally get there, it's upside down, and it looks like it's been there a while. So even, you think, oh, I know what I'm seeing with my eyes, my naked eye. I'm seeing a car, I'm seeing the roof up. Oh, so it must be roof up, not what shenanigans are going on. Well, then maybe you need to review that footage, find an expert who can have a look and tell you what you're looking at before just going off on this tangent of bafflement, Yeah. Personally, I think the car was there all the time. I don't know how come LA law enforcement are so useless. I don't know why they were focusing mainly the water areas of Donna and Boca, maybe because they had intel. Maybe there is something to do with the roadside assist person. Maybe there's something in that. Maybe it was actually Friday night. We don't know what AWP are alluding to. They've made some pretty big claims about things. So they're just getting people all het up. And should they be? I don't think so. They know how this social media machine works, and I think they shouldn't have been saying anything at all. But yeah, there's this. It always comes back to trust and motive, and there's no trust. Em says, yeah, yes, and that can truly, I don't know if someone wants to do a quick Google and look up truly what it is, but it seems like it's probably going to be some sort of pop. I mean, is there a truly, madly, deeply? This one will get you truly drunk. This is going to get you deeply drunk. This one will get you madly fucked up. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So many people drive when they are inebriated and shouldn't, and they think that it's a seltzer. Yeah, it's a teenager's drink, right? It's a teenager's drink. Maybe like a vodka cruiser, something like that. Thanks for that, Sheree. Yeah, it's exactly what you would expect. if people were trying to plan to make it look like Kiely was really fucked up, I mean, that pipe holder is in there, or the rig, the joint holders in there in the car. But wouldn't they put like maybe some bourbon and Coke, or a rum bottle, or a vodka bottle? Margarita mix? Just something? I mean, how many cans of Truly, even at 14, 15, 16? I mean, I tell you what, I got, yeah, terribly screwed up on Screwdriver when I was a very young person. I bet you can't drink whatever that was now, Emily. Yeah, I bet you, yeah. I'm sure you've got much more refined tastes now anyway, but yeah, there's things I can't drink. I can't drink Southern Comfort bourbon. For a while there, for many years, just the smell of it. Yeah, it's awful. But a Truly can, right? There's this big beat up about this Truly can. Not because, well, we are told, well, of course there is, because the kids were drinking, alcohol was stored in cars, Kiely had some alcohol. It's expected. Oh no. We are told, remember, by one of the greatest minds of last century. This is what we're told. One of the greatest minds of last century. It tells us that that's planted to support that narrative. I mean, if people were cleaning up afterwards, oh, well, what supports the narrative is there are a lot of alcohol cans and bottles and things being cleaned up, and, that they existed. Doesn't actually have to exist in Kiely's car. I'd say it's going to be an unopened one. I mean, even a can, it'll eventually fill with water and it will sink. Possibly would it? Would it still be, if it's filled with water, it is eventually going to settle, right? Even though it's not sealed, it's going to move around a lot. But I feel like the Truly can is probably an unopened Truly can that's just settled, that's down there. So what? She didn't even drink all the booze that she had? She only drank some of it? I mean, honestly, it's, someone has dived down, we're told, to support the narrative that they were charging phones. Well, girl's going to have her charger with her in her phone. So, yeah. There was the phone charger. There was the computer charger. The computer at first was in the car, and I think the lid might have been open, and I think it was plugged in. But where was the phone? Now, that could have been pulled out, thrown out in the turbulence of spinning. Maybe it had been plugged in, but I thought that was interesting. That her phone charger was there, but the phone wasn't attached to it. But, it could be with her. It might be grasped in her hand. It could be in the boot. It could have been flung out. I just wish we knew, but of course it's difficult to demand information, especially when it's a minor and there's, so many factors here. I wish we knew if they had her phone. Yeah, you think it's odd that she was in the hatch? Yeah, it really could be odd. It might be odd. I feel like she's clambered up there, Cherie. I feel like she's just clambered up there herself in panic, and I feel like there was an air pocket or something there just for a very brief time. She thought it wasn't going to go all the way in or something, or she's confused. I mean, it's very dark. She could have been a bit inebriated. She could not have been. She could have been paralytic. She could not have been. I don't know. But she would have been terrified if she was conscious. There's people that say she wasn't conscious. She was even dead, that she'd been dead for more than one day, etc., etc. I don't believe those things. Yeah, she was tiny. She was tall for a girl, so she reasonably tall for a girl. So she would have looked quite willowy at 106 pounds or 109 pounds and 5'7". I wish I had those dimensions. So, it's very just small frame here. Maybe not a lot of strength, who knows? Very slim, sure, could fit through a window. She might have been frightened of that rushing water, but what if the car was just sort of in a sort of position like this before going, and there's 4 foot of water in the boot, because we know that the slope down part of it was between sort of 10, 14 foot deep, and the car is 14.5 feet long, 14 feet long. Yeah. I mean, the whole, there's just so many, it's awful looking at these situations, because just when you have this, this sort of observational perspective from, on the outside and just seeing some basics, it's so easy to see, to be very judgmental, to make assumptions, but, you do see so many points in the road, so many bits of the timeline where if only, then it could have been so different. It could have been so different. Yeah, people like to say, oh, she couldn't get through the space. I can clamber through. I can clamber through a Honda CRV over the seats. And I'm definitely not 106, and I am definitely not tall and willowy. Let's just put it that way. And I can fit through, it's not like there is a few inches gap, okay? Also, a half down window. I don't know, that would look extremely daunting. A fully down window, the water's going to be moving even faster, maybe, I don't know. We just don't, I mean, maybe the car was just going in so slowly that at first she did make a phone call. She would have been so panicked, Sheree, discombobulated, disorientated, terrified. And she's not trained to do those things, Maybe this is what our driver's defense courses, people getting their licenses should have to pass driver defense courses and learn about how to stop themselves from skidding and how to control a skid, and how to get out of a sinking car, that sort of thing. Like you do when you get your motorcycle license, you have to go and perform all these tasks, all these, put yourself in these situations to go certain speeds and do different types of stops and do it perfectly. With your driver's test, you go out and you for cages for people on 4 wheels, you have to just go out and drive. So, there's a certain amount of hours and that sort of thing, but there's, it's a provisional license that she had, really. She wasn't allowed to be out there legally driving after 11. We are wired to survive, Emily says. I can only imagine what my body would do in response. I've been known to freeze. I've also been known to fight. Yeah. Yeah, she could have been just absolutely so shocked for a while. The videos that you see of people showing you how to get out of the car. Oh, it's an instant. Their hands on the belt and they're doing this and that. She might have just been like, holy shit, we don't know. It's every second counted. Yeah, we don't know if she's rolled in there, driven in there, it's been pushed in there, forwards, backwards, whatever. But, what I do know is that law enforcement, are we all wrong with where the phone pinged? Was the phone ping actually somewhere else? Is that why? Because if it was right there at that secondary boat ramp where her car was found. They have done a gross disservice. But I can tell you now, I think I would have been out there swimming in that lake myself as a parent, sister, auntie. I think if I knew the party was there, I would be doing it all. I'd be there again. I don't know. I don't know how she wasn't found. Yeah, drowning is. I have seen people drowning, and it's truly bizarre. It's not what you think. Yeah, I mean, yeah. How did they miss the car? That is terrible. I don't know if we've gotten a really decent explanation about that. Maybe they'll come up with one. But you know that they're embarrassed, and they have been exposed to not be as good as they should have been. But you know, we're expecting every single county to have these extremely highly trained experts. What is really disgusting is the recovery of the vehicle. Weeks, Emily, weeks. Because AWP, they normally only go to cold cases that they think they can help. And they were asked to go several days later. They became aware of it and they said, look, we'll be there in 2 weeks' time. So it might have even been 3 weeks, was it, Sheree? I don't know. I'm in a daze about the time frame now. Because Kiely went missing, it was, the 5th of August was the Friday, I think. Saturday was the 6th. So that very early morning was when these last phone pings and yeah, and I'm just trying to think of what day it was that actually AWP got there, because it must have been much longer ago than I thought. Yeah, but just they had all these different authorities helping them. I think it's been a hot mess because you've got Nevada, you've got California. Jurisdiction wise, it's been really a mess. Maybe on who's running the show, all these egos, who's in command, who's footing the bill, and so you've got the California Highway Patrol. Remember Chips? I used to love that show. You've got Chips involved because there's a vehicle involved. You've got the Nevada police, and I think maybe they were in charge. You've got, you've got the sheriff's offices and all sorts, and so there could be difficulty there. And look, it's funny because it is more of an affluent area than, say, Hawkins County, the search that went on for summer wells. But we expect that they've all got everything on hand. I mean, I think they could have gotten things out from LA, other places in California really quickly, though, dogs and things like that. And dogs can smell things in water. And yeah, I don't know. I'd be, if I were Kylie's family, I'd be so furious in the way that car was taken out of the water. That's all I'll say. And then I've got, yeah. Yeah, maybe they couldn't. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you hear, in the movie, go through the creek, you walk upstream so that you don't leave your scent. Yeah, I just can't believe, how did they not see the vehicle? Flying drones and things over. It's a funny bug. Oh, I've got a massive wolf spider in my house. I put a little baby one out, and then there was a huge one behind my washing machine. It's a type of huntsman. It's a type of huntsman spider, wolf spider. Oh, it's huge. I tried to get it and I had it on the broom a couple of times, but I just couldn't get it out. Yeah, just burn the house and leave. I know. And it's in the laundry room, and it's in this sort of like wet room sort of thing, where all my and where a lot of my shoes are, boots and just sneakers and things like that. It's like, yeah. Gross. Yeah. So, because I'm scared of hurting it, I'm scared of squashing it and then having to pick up a dead one or a half alive one. I had a huge locust out there the other day, half dead, and I feel so awful for it, but there's nothing. I don't know. It's hurt itself somehow, but it's like right out in my dog's area, and I'm just trying to move it, and it's sort of winding its legs, but they're terrifying. They can throw themselves. You hear them go thud when they land on things, and their spiny little spiky legs. Oh, that's so gross. They're just these huge grasshoppers, and baby spider. Yeah, I mean, but look, they're little, right? So they're cute when they're little. These little hunties, and that he was easy to get out. But then, and I'm not so scared to get close to them. But when they're massive, I just want him out. So I'm just trying to imagine that where he went behind a cabinet, he's found his way out through the bricks, and he's gone out through this this bit where there's a pipe and a drain, from the back of this in the laundry. So I hope, just find your way out. Yeah. They come in when it rains, and then, sometimes they don't leave. Yeah, not as bad as funnel web spiders. I have had 2 encounters with funnel web spiders. They are truly terrifying. Yeah, I just think the whole thing, there's whole things at the time we can go, if only, if only, if only. I mean, if only someone went to look for Kiely because she was out after curfew, if they'd tried keep calling, if they'd said no, you can't stay out later. Number one, it's illegal. You are putting yourself in, a dangerous position with your future if you're caught, or something could happen, and then not turning up. And she's got all that mileage of, like, the last mile is just like off-road, bumpy as a track sort of, but through tunnels and things, out to the middle of nowhere. Why not go out, get in your car and drive to look for your 16-year-old daughter? Because she knew where she was. Back to the wall, just surveying everything, Johnny. That's right. It's not like Kiely had lied and said, I'm staying at someone's house, and, no one had any idea. I mean, I think, sure, there's got to be a time when children have to be responsible for themselves, that's for sure. 16, 17, when they're living in your house, I don't know. Maybe we can't blame. There's no worse. Lindsay is feeling all of that for herself, but that speech, what was it? She says, there's honor in silence. I mean, she doesn't want all the, the social media riffraff and the commentators and the investigators and the sleuths and just the curious to be talking about her daughter as if she is a movie character or a sim character or didn't exist at all. Fair enough. But most people want to, in a way, they want to support her. They want to support her in finding the truth. They want to make sure that people are held accountable if they have to be. They want people to do better in future, whether it's law enforcement, they get better training. Yeah, there's so much gossip. There's so much misinformation and disinformation, right? And what we need to realize is we have so many disinformation agents active in every case that we are interested in. And again, it still comes down to their motives though, sometimes they're sadists, sometimes they're just bored, sometimes it's how they make their money, but we need to be a lot more discerning, The GoFundMe was set up and then it was taken down, and it's actually the funds have been frozen. Who knows? But that'll go around the world in 80 seconds now. It's a fact now, right? Just like it's a fact that AWP know that it was murder. I mean, them putting murder in their title, that is pure. That's marketing. Again, that's marketing. That's creating a buzz. That's creating that's all to do with their branding, because they know better, right? They know better. I mean, unless he saw with a bullet in her head, right? Cherie, same. Although one time my parents did know I was out at Piha, a beach, and my mother actually did drive. She was driving around. I saw her the next morning. One of the days I was out there, saw her driving around in a yellow car. I could have just gone and gotten in. Me and my friend desperately needed a ride back, but we ended up hitching back, which is how we got there in the first place. We had just been on a bender, and very, not in a, big bender. And there's my mum driving around. I don't know how old I was. Was I 17 or 18? Working. Yeah. Was I living at home? I don't even know. But but everyone's different. But yeah, I'd climb up and down out of windows, drain pipes. Yeah, no, your parents, they don't know often. Yeah, but it's clear people have contributed to delinquency of a minor. Where are the children getting the alcohol in the first place? When I say children, I'm meaning the minors. There would have been other people under 18 at that party, I would be sure of it. But who cares if most of them were 21? It's a graduation party for high school, for people going off to college. They're mostly not 21. And they're trying to say the bad people are the older people, the people past college or in college that are over 21. Oh, if only they hadn't have come and interfered with our underage drug and drinking. If they hadn't have interfered with our underage partying. Yeah, I mean, it's bullshit. The younger children, 18, 17, they were in possession of alcohol and drugs, and they were imbibing. And Sammy, by her own admission, whether it's a story or it's the truth, she was basically contributing to the delinquency of a minor, because she's talking about how what she drank, I drank, we were sharing, we were going back to the vehicle for drinks, So those are criminal charges that Sammy should face. Is Truckee going to make, not a spectacle, an example of people, or do what's right? Or have they just for years just turned their back on all this type of behavior because they just want to be known it's a party town, it's a fun town. People go there exactly to camp and party, celebrate, spend money in town. It's very near Reno, a big gambling centre. It's half an hour away, as I've spoken before, and everything, Prosser, Boca Lake is on the way to Reno, whether that's interesting or not. Yeah. Anywho, does anyone have anything they want to just put in the comments about anything? If not, and I might get off because this I could have actually, what I should have done, rather than just trying to read scrawled notes, what I should have done is just written a little script like I did with my the car vehicle video that I uploaded, and just been very succinct, and I could have done this in 20 minutes. But anyway, it's nice to have a chat with whomever wants to pop in. I'm gonna go and walk the doggo. Yeah, they're not investigators. They have a very specific and high grade knowledge of things. They've seen a lot, so they've got a lot of experience. And they do have expertise, and that's not being, no one's trying to undermine that or degrade that or lower that or whatever. But they're not forensic investigators. They're not qualified. I mean, it seems like who is now? Law enforcement can't do their job. This is what I was saying. I'll just say it once more. We have to first. We're supposed to trust them and trust them while we watch them do a really bad job, and then it's these same people that we've now got to trust to do a really good job and bring it home, put people's minds at ease, ensure that people know what went on and that they can trust that that's the truth, that everything is being done the way it should. When they have royally dropped the ball and then nearly purposefully fucked up, how do you not think that if there's a 16-year-old girl in this vehicle, we'd better seal it up? We'd better seal it up and just make sure that there's as much in there for us to find as possible. Because it seems that there might be some legalities that actually prevent them from getting things later, because the scene wasn't sealed and they didn't then dredge it and just get everything up right then and there. So I feel like there's probably, there's chain of evidence or whatever, that they can't use anything that's found later. I really think that's the situation. Anything at all. I mean, sure, if there's a gun found and then they can test the gun or whatever, or if there were a knife or something, sure. But bits and pieces out of Kiely's car just generally now, there's big issues with it because they didn't secure the scene and they haven't taken those items at the time. So there's nothing they can do. I don't necessarily believe Check-It TV. I think he's one of these odd persons, shall we say, that's capable of contriving anything. Yeah. Right. Well, I'll go. That was really funny, Cherie, about burning the house down. Yeah. Thanks for everyone that's popped in, and thanks for listening. I just wanted to get that off my chest that, is natural resting placement the new resting bitch face? Yeah. That I don't think that just because superficially it looks like there's a few things lined up and they've probably been placed there, it doesn't mean that they were. And just to say that because I'm going by my own eyes, what I see with my own eyes, well, it's not your eyes that, look, that's not true, right? Okay. I've mentioned before the book Blink, right? Sometimes you just look at something and you know it's wrong, the painting's a fraud or someone's lying or whatever it is, but you can't really maybe it would have to bear examination though now as to why that first impression was spot on. You might sort of push it aside or discount it, but you have to actually, you just know, and then investigation, analysis proves that you were right, but that has to be done. So, okay, yeah, sure, maybe you're right, but what are you doing what are you assessing that next? What are you filtering that through? Just your own bias, perception, your own, being primed to now see things as shady. When there's so many variables, right? And, sure, what are the odds? Well, we've got an equation for the odds. Have you tried to work it out? Yeah. Bye. So thanks for listening. Speak to you later.